John Deere 9R540. 540 horsepower rated, 594 at peak, the flagship of America's biggest tractors. For decades, this is the machine that ran the Corn Belt: Iowa, Illinois, Nebraska, Indiana. Walk any dealer lot from the Mississippi to the plains and the green and yellow wall is what you see first. Big farms, custom operators, four-generation row crop families, almost all of them bought Deere. But starting around 2018, something began to slip. Quietly at first, then visibly. A Bavarian tractor in nature green paint, the Fiendt 1050 Vario, started showing up on American fields. 500 horsepower out of Marktoberdorf, Germany, with a transmission Deere does not build, and a cab the operators do not want to leave. This is how the most German tractor on earth started eating John Deere alive. If you live with farm equipment for a living, hit subscribe. We cover this story every week, brand against brand. Start with the transmission, because the transmission is where the story begins. The Fendt 1050 Vario runs a continuously variable transmission that Fendt calls Vario Drive. No gears, no shift points. The operator picks a ground speed, the tractor matches it, and the engine sits at whatever RPM uses the least diesel for the load. Deere builds the E18 power shift in the 9R540. 18 forward gears, electronically controlled, and it is a fine transmission. But under partial load, which is most of a farmer's day, the Vario keeps the engine 200 to 400 RPM lower at the same ground speed. Lower RPM at the same ground speed means less fuel burned per acre. Across a planting season, that gap is real money on a 5,000-acre operation. This is not opinion. Every custom operator who has run both knows it. Walk the lot at Farm Progress in Decatur and ask one of them in person. Now the CAB. A row crop operator is in that seat 12 hours a day, 14 in spring planting and fall harvest. Long enough that the seat, the cab suspension, the noise level, and the joystick layout are not luxury items. They are the difference between climbing out of the tractor at 9 p.m. able to walk and climbing out unable to feel your lower back. The Fendt 1050 cab is built around that day. Pneumatic cab suspension, self-leveling front axle suspension. A seat tuned for vibration that comes from a German company that takes ergonomics like an engineering problem, not a brochure photo. Deere has a fine cab, but farmers who have switched describe the Fendt the way truckers describe an old Peterbilt 379 conventional. It feels like the company designed it for the operator first and the spec sheet second. Then there is the software. This is the grievance every American farmer feels in his ribs. John Deere locks the modern tractor to a software ecosystem only Deere dealers can fully access. Sensor faults, ECU resets, certain hydraulic recalibrations. The man who has owned his land for 40 years cannot legally fix his own tractor anymore. This issue has gone all the way to the Federal Trade Commission. State right to repair laws are passing. Memorandum of Understanding with the American Farm Bureau or not, the trust is broken, and the audience for this video knows it personally. Fendt and AGCO are not perfect, but the philosophy is less restrictive, and the diagnostic tools are more accessible to operators and to independent shops. For a row crop man who has ever stood next to his tractor at sunset waiting on a dealer tech, that detail is not small. Then there is the structural argument. Deere is publicly traded. The CEO answers to Wall Street, to quarterly earnings, to share buybacks, and to a shareholder base that has never sat in a tractor cab. Decisions about feature gating, dealer markup, and software locks are not made on Iowa cornfields. They are made in Moline, in front of a slide deck. Fendt is part of AGCO, which is also publicly traded. But Fendt's culture, like Kloss, like Krone, like much of German farm machinery, was built family first and engineering first for most of a century. That heritage shows up in the product decisions over time. Less feature gating, less software lockout, more machine for the money up front, even when the sticker price looks higher. Now the signal's on the ground. The Fendt US dealer network is expanding. AGCO has put real money behind the dealer footprint, especially across the upper Midwest and the northern plains. 5 years ago, finding a Fendt mechanic in Iowa was a phone call. Today, it is a drive. Used Fendt 1050 Vario tractors hold their resale value strong relative to comparable Deere 9R units of similar hours. Auction results out of Sullivan and Steff's show it. Farmers who track resale, and most do, see this. And the custom operators are switching. The men who run 100,000 acres a year on contract, who cannot afford a tractor that fails in the wrong week, are buying Fendt. You can see them at Farm Progress in Decatur, at Husker Harvest Days in Grand Island. Park 3 rows of Vario green next to 2 rows of Deere green. That is the headline. This is not a collapse. John Deere is not going anywhere. The brand still owns the largest tractor footprint in America, the largest dealer network, and the deepest financing arm. But the dominance is what is slipping. For 40 years, a serious row crop farm in the Corn Belt bought Deere because there was no real alternative. That is no longer true. There is a German alternative. It is faster on fuel, kinder to the operator, and less hostile to the man who actually owns the iron. The next decade of American big tractor sales is not going to look like the last 4. The green wall is not gone. It is leaking. And every dealer principal in Iowa knows what color the leak is. If this lined up with what you have seen on your own farm, subscribe. The shift from Deere green to Fendt nature green is just getting started, and we are not done.